At my age, you'd think life would get quieter. But no. My storm came from inside my own family. My daughter-in-law, the woman who married my son, the woman I welcomed into my home, once served me dog food on a plate. She smiled as if it were dinner. I stared at the bite she expected me to take. My hands shook, my pride burned. But what I discovered next changed everything. I'll never forget the first time I met her. Her name was Claire. She came into my son Michael's life like a gust of spring wind. She was young, elegant, with the kind of beauty that makes people stop mid-conversation. When Michael brought her home, my heart softened instantly. My son was finally smiling again, finally holding someone's hand with hope in his eyes. I wanted to love her. I truly did. And at first, I thought I did. The wedding was beautiful. My husband had passed a few years earlier, and seeing Michael take this step gave me comfort. He had someone to share his life with. I watched them exchange vows, his trembling voice promising forever. I prayed silently that this woman would protect his heart, that she would be kind to me too. In those early days, Claire seemed polite. She would call me Mom when Michael was around. She brought me flowers on my birthday. She smiled wide at family gatherings, laughing at jokes she didn't even find funny. On the surface, she was perfect. But cracks appeared quickly. She had a way of looking at me when Michael wasn't watching, cold, sharp, dismissive. If I asked her a simple question, like how her workday was, her answers were clipped, as if I were wasting her time. Still, I told myself I was imagining it. I've lived long enough to know first impressions can be misleading. Maybe she was nervous. Maybe she just needed time. So I gave her time. I invited her into my kitchen. Cooking was always my love language. I thought if I showed her how to prepare Michael's favorite dishes, maybe she'd feel closer to me. But she dismissed my recipes. Too old-fashioned, she said, rolling her eyes. When I offered her my handwritten cookbook, the one I started as a teenager, she flipped through the pages like it was trash. It stung, but I smiled. I stayed quiet. Michael didn't notice. He was so in love, blinded by it. I couldn't bring myself to ruin that happiness. So I kept my discomfort tucked away, like a secret bruise hidden under clothing. Months passed, and Claire grew bolder. When Michael wasn't home, she barely spoke to me. Sometimes, she wouldn't acknowledge me at all. I'd be sitting in the living room knitting, and she'd walk right past me without a word. It felt deliberate, as though she wanted to remind me I was invisible in my own son's house. Still, I endured. But then came the subtle jabs. She'd sigh loudly when I moved too slowly. She'd whisper under her breath about old people smells. She'd suggest that maybe I shouldn't be living with them, that Michael and she needed privacy. I ignored it, telling myself Michael needed his peace. He worked long hours, and I didn't want to be the source of arguments in his marriage. But the truth? I felt like an intruder in the very family I had built with my own hands. It wasn't just her words. It was the way she rearranged the furniture without asking, the way she packed away the family photos that didn't include her. My husband's portrait, gone. My wedding china, boxed up and put in storage. She was erasing me, slowly, quietly. And Michael didn't see it. He would come home, kiss her cheek, and thank her for taking such good care of me. And she would smile sweetly at him, holding his hand, playing the role of the perfect wife. I wanted to scream, "Can't you see it? Can't you see how she treats me when you're not here?" But I swallowed my words. Because what mother wants to shatter her son's illusion of happiness? One evening, I was setting the table for dinner. Just the three of us. I placed the plates down carefully, like I'd done for decades. Claire walked in, looked at the table, and smirked. "That's not how we do it anymore," she said. She snatched the forks, rearranged them with a flourish, and then whispered, "You really are stuck in the past, aren't you?" I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. My son was asleep down the hall. His arm draped over his wife, dreaming peacefully. And me? I was wondering how long I could survive under the same roof as this woman. But the worst came one afternoon, not long after. Claire told me she'd cook dinner. "You deserve a rest, Mom," she said sweetly, her eyes glinting in a way that made my stomach twist. I sat in the living room, hearing the clatter of pans, the hiss of oil. For once, I thought, maybe she was extending an olive branch. Maybe I'd misjudged her. The smell that drifted out of the kitchen was odd, but I told myself it was a new recipe. When she finally placed the plate in front of me, the food looked strange. Gray, unappetizing, chunks swimming in a thin sauce. I forced a smile. "Go on," she urged. "Try it." I lifted my fork, but something in me froze. The smell was wrong. I'd been in kitchens all my life. I knew the scent of beef, chicken, lamb. This wasn't it. My eyes flickered to the can she had carelessly left near the sink, and that's when I saw it. Dog food. My breath caught in my throat. My hands trembled. I looked at her face, smiling, waiting. She knew I had seen. She wanted me to know. And at that moment, my world tilted, because it wasn't just disrespect anymore. It was humiliation, deliberate cruelty, a declaration of war. But what I discovered next changed everything. I sat frozen, staring at that plate. The fork slipped from my fingers and clattered onto the table. "You don't like it?" Claire's voice was light, mocking. I swallowed hard, fighting the bile rising in my throat. "What is this?" Her smile widened. "Dinner. Isn't it obvious?" My eyes darted to the can by the sink again. Dog food. She hadn't even bothered to hide it. The room spun. My chest tightened. My own daughter-in-law had served me dog food like I was an animal, and she expected me to eat it. I pushed the plate away slowly. "Claire, how could you?" Her eyes narrowed. The sweetness slipped away, replaced by something cold, sharp. "Because you don't belong here. You're a burden. And maybe if you were gone, Michael and I could finally live our lives without your shadow hanging over us." Her words sliced deeper than the humiliation of that plate. I wanted to scream. I wanted to slap the smugness off her face. But my voice cracked instead. "I've done nothing but welcome you." She laughed, low and cruel. "Welcome me? You hover, you meddle, you act like this is still your house. But it's mine now, mine and Michael's. You're just a guest, and not a very welcome one." The tears burned behind my eyes. But I refused to let them fall in front of her. I stood, my legs trembling, and walked away. That night, when Michael came home, she kissed him, held his hand, and chirped about how she'd cooked dinner, but Mom wasn't feeling well, so she didn't eat. He glanced at me with worry. "Are you okay, Mom?" I opened my mouth, and then closed it. I looked at my son's tired face, the love in his eyes when he gazed at her. I couldn't destroy that. Not yet, so I lied. "I'm fine, just tired." And Claire's smirk over his shoulder told me she knew I would stay silent, but it didn't stop there. The cruelty escalated, subtle at first, then sharper. She started hiding my things, my knitting needles, my reading glasses, even my medications. I would search for hours, panicked, only to find them tucked away in the strangest places: the freezer, the laundry basket. Once, I found my glasses in the trash. When I confronted her, she shrugged. "Maybe you're just getting forgetful. Old age, you know." Her voice was syrupy sweet when Michael was in the room. But when it was just us, her mask slipped. "You should be in a home," she hissed one afternoon, her face inches from mine. "Michael won't admit it, but he'd be happier if you were gone." "You're nothing but dead weight." My heart shattered into pieces. My son, my only child, wouldn't send me away. I knew him, or at least I thought I did. But doubt crept in. She was cunning, clever, planting little seeds in his ear, twisting situations. I began to notice how Michael looked at me sometimes, with pity, with concern. One evening, after I misplaced my keys for the third time that week because she had hidden them, he pulled me aside. "Mom, maybe we should think about assisted living, just to make things easier for you." I felt the floor vanish beneath me. "Michael, I don't need that. I'm not losing my mind. She's—" I stopped. Claire was in the kitchen, listening, smiling. I knew if I spoke, she'd find a way to make me sound paranoid, so I stayed silent, but inside, I was screaming. It didn't end with gaslighting. She poisoned family gatherings too. My relatives would visit and she'd play the perfect daughter-in-law, gushing about how much she loved taking care of Mom. Then, behind closed doors, she'd sneer at me. See, everyone thinks I'm a saint. No one would believe you. And part of me feared she was right. But the breaking point came on Michael's birthday. I baked him a cake, his favorite, chocolate with whipped cream. I spent hours on it, my hands aching, my back sore. I wanted him to feel special, like I always had when he was a boy. Claire walked in, saw the cake, and froze. For a moment, I saw pure rage in her eyes. "That's my job," she snapped. I smiled gently. "I just wanted to surprise him. He loves this cake." Her lips curled. "We'll see about that." When we brought the cake out later, candles flickering, Michael smiled. "Thanks, Mom." He took a big slice. My heart swelled until he took a bite, grimaced, and spat it out. "What the? This tastes like salt." I froze. My cake? I had measured everything carefully. I tasted the batter myself. Claire put on her best shocked face. "Oh, no. Mom must have confused the sugar with salt. It happens, Michael. She's been forgetful lately." The guests chuckled uncomfortably. My cheeks burned. My hands trembled as Michael looked at me with embarrassment in his eyes. But I knew she had tampered with it. She had switched the sugar container. She had set me up. And when the laughter died down, she leaned close and whispered, "You'll never win. Just leave." That night, lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling, my heart heavy, my pride shattered. The woman I welcomed had turned my home into a prison. She wanted me gone, humiliated, erased, and she was winning. But as I lay there, something shifted inside me. A flame I thought had burned out long ago flickered back to life. I whispered to the darkness, "No, you won't destroy me. Not this time." Because what Claire didn't know was that I wasn't as weak as she thought, and I was about to prove it. After Michael's birthday humiliation, I withdrew. I stopped cooking. I stopped setting the table. I stopped trying to win Claire over. I felt small, invisible, like a ghost haunting my own home. She strutted around like a queen, her victory complete. Every time she passed me, she smirked. Every time she caught me fumbling for my glasses or my pills, she whispered, "See? You can't even take care of yourself." And worst of all, Michael was slipping further away from me. He came home later, spent more time with her friends than with me. When I tried to talk to him, he was distracted, distant. "Mom, I'm tired. Not now." One evening, I overheard them talking in the kitchen. I was walking down the hall when their voices froze me in my tracks. "She's too much work, Michael. We can't live like this forever." "She's my mother, Claire. What do you expect me to do?" "Put her in a home. She doesn't even notice half of what's happening. She's slipping. Everyone sees it." Silence. And then, Michael sighed. "Maybe you're right." My knees buckled. I clutched the wall to keep from falling. My own son, the boy I raised, the man I gave everything for, was considering sending me away. Because of her, because of the lies she planted. That night, I cried harder than I had in years. I pressed my face into my pillow, muffling the sobs, ashamed of how broken I'd become. I had always been strong. I survived losing my husband. I built a life from nothing. And now? My own family was tearing me apart. I thought about giving up, about packing a bag and leaving quietly. Maybe that would give Michael peace. Maybe I really was a burden. But then, fate intervened. The next morning, Claire was in a rush. She left her phone on the kitchen counter when she went out shopping. The screen lit up with a message. Normally, I would never invade someone's privacy, but something in me, maybe desperation, maybe instinct, told me to look. The text read, "Did you get the money yet? You promised last week." My heart skipped. Another message followed. "Don't forget, I covered you last month. Pay up." Money? Covered? Promises? I scrolled quickly, my fingers trembling. What I found made my stomach drop. Dozens of messages, from different numbers. Claire owed people money. A lot of it. Friends. Creditors. even one that looked like a loan shark. And then I saw her replies, lies, excuses, promises of soon and next week. The perfect polished daughter-in-law was drowning in debt. And suddenly everything clicked. The expensive handbags she flaunted, the jewelry she bragged about, the designer clothes. I thought Michael had been spoiling her, but no. She had been living beyond her means, digging a hole she couldn't climb out of. A slow, cold smile spread across my face. For months, she made me feel powerless, weak, ashamed. But now, I held her secret in my hands. I knew what I had to do. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in bed, the glow of the phone screen illuminating my face as I reread every incriminating message, every desperate plea for money. My tears dried. My shame hardened into resolve. Claire thought she was the only one who could play games. But she had underestimated me. I was a mother, a survivor, a woman who had buried her husband and still stood tall. And now? I was going to bury her arrogance with the very dirt she dug for herself. As the dawn crept through my window, I whispered to myself, "It's my turn now." And with that, my plan began to take shape. I didn't rush. Revenge takes patience, precision, timing. If I struck too soon, Claire would wriggle out of it, spin another lie, paint me as the senile old woman. No, I had to wait. I had to build the stage, and then pull the curtain back when everyone was watching. The perfect chance came a few weeks later. Michael's company was hosting a dinner, an elegant affair with his colleagues, friends, and even some extended family. Claire was thrilled. She preened in front of the mirror, trying on dress after dress, asking Michael which one made her look more powerful, more perfect. "This is the night people will finally see who we are," she said, smoothing her hair. I stayed quiet, nodding. But inside, I smiled. Yes, they would see. In the days leading up to it, I gathered my tools. I copied Claire's messages, printed them out neatly. Dozens of them. Lies, promises, proof of her debt. And then I slipped a few into carefully chosen envelopes, one addressed to Michael, one to her closest friend, one tucked inside my handbag, ready to reveal at the right moment. When the night arrived, I dressed simply. A dark blue dress, pearls at my neck. Nothing flashy. I wanted eyes on her, not me. She strutted into the hall like a peacock, clinging to Michael's arm, smiling at everyone who looked her way. People complimented her beauty, her elegance. She soaked it in, laughing, pretending she was the perfect wife, the perfect hostess. I watched from the sidelines, sipping water, waiting. Dinner was served. Speeches followed. Michael thanked his team, his wife at his side, beaming with pride. And then it was her turn. Claire took the microphone, voice dripping with confidence. She spoke about partnership, loyalty, the perfect marriage she and Michael shared. She boasted about her responsibilities, her ability to manage everything flawlessly. I almost laughed because I knew her truth, and soon everyone else would too. When the applause ended, I rose slowly from my chair. My cane tapped against the marble floor as I walked to the front. People murmured, surprised, but I smiled softly, as though I were about to give a sweet little speech about family. "I won't take much of your time," I said, my voice calm but steady. "But since we are celebrating loyalty and truth tonight, perhaps it's only fair that truth has its moment." Claire stiffened. Her eyes darted to me, then to my handbag. I saw fear flicker there. She knew. I reached inside, pulled out the envelope, and opened it with deliberate slowness. "Claire," I said gently, "you've been hiding something, haven't you?" The room went silent. I held up the papers, her text messages, her pleas for money, her excuses, her web of lies. Gasps echoed around the hall. Michael's face drained of color. He grabbed the papers, scanned them, then turned to his wife. "Claire, what is this?" she stammered. It's nothing. They're old. They don't mean—" But I cut her off. "It's not nothing. It's debt. Debt you've been drowning in. Debt you tried to cover with lies. And while you paraded yourself as the perfect wife, you've been manipulating, deceiving, and humiliating this family." The whispers grew louder. Her friends, her admirers, they were all staring now, some with shock, some with disgust. Claire tried to grab the microphone back, but Michael stepped away from her, his face twisted with betrayal. "You made me believe my own mother was losing her mind. You humiliated her. And all this time, you were the liar?" Her mask shattered. She looked around, desperate, her voice cracking. "Michael, please." But there was no saving her. I didn't need to scream. I didn't need to gloat. I simply looked at her and said, "You served me dog food once, thinking I wouldn't notice. But tonight, everyone sees exactly who you are." The silence that followed was heavier than thunder. And then the laughter began. Not mine. Others. People whispering, smirking, shaking their heads. Her perfect image crumbled, her pride ripped away in front of the very people she wanted to impress. Claire burst into tears and fled the room, heels clicking against the marble as her sobs echoed down the hall. And I stood taller than I had in years. For the first time in months, I felt the weight lift off my shoulders. I had taken back my dignity. The next morning, the house was quiet. Too quiet. Claire hadn't come home after the dinner. Michael sat at the kitchen table, his head in his hands, the papers scattered between us. His voice was heavy, broken. "Mom, I had no idea." I placed my hand on his shoulder. "I know, son. She fooled you. She fooled all of us. But now you see her for who she really is." He looked up at me, eyes filled with guilt. "She made me doubt you. She made me believe you were slipping, that you needed help. I should have trusted you." My throat tightened, but I kept my voice steady. "Love makes us blind. I don't blame you, but don't ever forget. Blood doesn't lie. I'm your mother, and I'll always protect you, even if it means protecting you from the woman you love." His hand covered mine, trembling. For the first time in months, I saw the boy I raised. Not the man trapped in her web. In the days that followed, Claire's perfect image shattered completely. Her friends distanced themselves. Her creditors came calling. Word spread quickly in our community. People love gossip more than truth, and now the gossip was hers to carry. She tried to beg Michael for forgiveness. She cried, shouted, swore it was all a misunderstanding. But her crocodile tears had lost their shine. Michael filed for separation within a week. And me? I stayed. I reclaimed my home, my peace, my dignity. I cooked again. I set the table again. I filled the rooms with laughter again, not the bitter kind, but the warm kind. Michael and I rebuilt what she tried to break. Slowly, carefully, but stronger this time. Sometimes, late at night, I sit by the window and remember the taste of humiliation, the sting of being served dog food like I was nothing. I remember the weight of betrayal pressing on my chest, stealing my breath. And then I remember the moment she fell, the look on her face when her lies unraveled in front of everyone. That was my justice, not screaming, not fighting, just truth, revealed at the perfect time. I don't regret it, not one bit, because she thought I was weak. She thought my age made me fragile, blind, forgetful. But what she didn't understand is that age is not weakness. Age is strength. Age is wisdom. Age is knowing when to stay quiet and when to strike. So yes, my daughter-in-law once served me dog food, thinking I wouldn't notice. But I noticed. And in the end, everyone else did too. And that was the day she realized she'd lost everything.